Crazy week all the way around. A lot of things happening, man. It was a crazy last year, and 2025 is starting to be a crazy year already. So let's take a look, man. We got some good news. My favorite TV show, my favorite movie franchise of all time, man. It's got to be politics, man. Politics, politicking. So let's talk about the hostages that are being released. Let's roll the clip.
That is the president you see there with the vice president and the secretary of state. Let's listen.
Good afternoon. It's a very good afternoon because at long last, I can announce a ceasefire and a hostage deal has been reached between Israel and Hamas. More than 15 months of conflict that began with Hezbollah's brutal massacre on October the 7th. More than 15 months of terror for the hostages, their families, the Israeli people. More than 15 months of suffering by the innocent people of Gaza. Fighting in Gaza will stop, and soon the hostages will return home to their families. The elements of this deal were what I laid out in detail this past May, which was embraced by countries around the world and endorsed overwhelmingly by the UN Security Council.
I just want to make sure I got this clear. So they've been hostages for 15 months, and Joe Biden laid out a hostage deal about a year ago, and nothing. So let's keep that in mind. Let's continue.
The deal is structured in 3 phases. Phase 1 will last 6 weeks. It includes a full and complete ceasefire, withdrawal of Israeli forces from all the populated areas of Gaza, and the release of a number of hostages held by Hamas, including women and elderly and the wounded. And I'm proud to say Americans will be part of that hostage release in phase 1 as well. In exchange, Israel released hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. And during phase 1, the Palestinians can also return to their neighborhoods. Phase 2, which is a permanent end of the war. Let me say it again, a permanent end of the war. There are a number of details to negotiate to move from phase 1 to phase 2, but the plan says if negotiations take longer than 6 weeks, the ceasefire will continue. And finally, phase 3, any final remains of hostages who have been killed will be returned to their families, and a major reconstruction plan for Gaza will begin. This is the ceasefire agreement I introduced last spring. Today, Hamas and Israel have agreed to that ceasefire agreement.
Okay. President Joe Biden, this is great news for one. Okay. President Joe Biden introduced this this hostage deal almost a year ago, and the hostages been in captivity for 15 months, it looks like. So there's a lot of debate. You know, Donald Trump has recently 2 times there's 2 different press conferences where he was very stern. He was very bold, and he was demanding the releases of the hostages. So you have the Biden administration; they don't want to give Donald Trump credit. You have Donald Trump, who is taking credit. I believe both parties helped. The Biden administration, of course, and the Trump administration that's coming in. Donald Trump helped. But there's actually, I was watching some interviews from foreign news outlets, and there was a few interviews, even one actually with Don Lemon, where they were giving Donald Trump credit for this deal. So let's take a look, man. Let's take a look and see what you think.
All hell will be paid. All hell must be paid if they don't release the hostages.
Well, do I have to define it for you? Look, all hell will break out. If those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East. And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out. I don't have to say anymore, but
strong words for the president. You saw it right there. All hell will break loose. The hostages, they better be released. He was very, very bold. He was very candid. And as you know, Donald Trump, he will back up his words. That's the thing about him. He'll back up his words. So let's take a look at this is a previous press conference where this is the first time I heard Donald Trump actually say this.
I'll be very available on January 20th, and we'll see. As you know, I gave warning that if these hostages aren't back home by that date, all hell's going to break out.
There you see, President 2 times. He clearly has said that. So there was no movement from what I understand. Joe Biden introduced this almost a year ago. There has been no movement on the hostage negotiations until Donald Trump is inserted here. He says it 2 times. Very serious, very bold, very direct. Let's take a look.
Watch this moment from President Biden's remarks in the White House just a short time ago.
Thank you.
Books credit for this, Mr. President, you or Trump?
Is that a joke? Oh, thank you.
All right. Well, incoming Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt immediately putting this on X, quote, "Let's be clear, this deal would not have been struck without the forceful hand of President Trump and his special envoy, Steve Witkoff. Once again, peace through strength prevails," writes Leavitt. Let's bring in Paul Rove, former White House Deputy Chief of Staff under President George W. Bush. This deal will begin to take effect on Sunday, January 19th, the day before this inauguration. Your thoughts?
Trump's threat obviously played a role in this. To say that all hell would break loose, a pointed threat that Hamas had to take into account. But there are also other things at play here. The IDF has demonstrated an ability to degrade whatever military strength Hamas has been able to project. There's domestic internal politics inside Israel. The left inside Israel is strengthened its argument that there needs to be a ceasefire and that the hostages need to come home. The right in Israel has basically said we ought to destroy Hamas first before we worry about getting the hostages out. But the Netanyahu may be feeling the heat a little bit from the center and left of his politics. Hamas has some internal concerns. They have been demolished. They're on, the new leader is related to one of the former leaders. Everybody is getting at the top of that pyramid is getting killed. They may have said it is time for us to do this before we reach a point where there is no chance that we'll be able to hold on to Gaza. And then finally, both the Biden and allies negotiations, and then the role of Steve Witkoff, all of those probably help bring about the resolution of this at this point. Now, let's hope it holds until Sunday, but a lot of people are responsible for this. I think it's sort of unseemly that President Biden was not able to give credit, even a bit of credit, to the threat that the incoming president had set forth.
Yes.
So I think that's a good assessment, what the gentleman just said. I think it's a combination of it all. I think there were already negotiations between the two parties already. I truly believe as a human being, people would much rather have peace than war. And then you have the Biden administration, who about a year ago, they went ahead and said, hey, here goes the terms of our cease agreement and hostage release. And then I think you have the main catalyst because, like the gentleman said, January 19th, the day before the Trump inauguration, they're going to go ahead and put in motion the hostage release. There you go. So this is a three-phase step. Sounds like the Biden administration was instrumental in that. I just think with Donald Trump coming in, he's a very forceful guy. He is about action, and I think that was a catalyst to get this thing moving along. So everyone involved looked like they had a hand in this, Biden administration, Trump administration. So most importantly, the hostages are being released.